So those of you that use ChatGPT have probably noticed that you also have My ChatGPTs as well. Now, these really range from anything to helping you with AI guide with literature, connecting up to Canva, creating logos, or of course DALL-E for image generation. There's just a ton of stuff that you can do here really, and anything from creating websites, code, even helping you with Excel. Now these are all super good, however sometimes you might be working for a certain company or perhaps your company, even if you're a private blog owner and you might want to have it in a specific way of working and you want it to suit you all the time. We can actually go ahead and do a create my own ChatGPT. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to create a ChatGPT bot or one for yourself by using ChatGPT to create it. Essentially it asks you what you want to make and then you answer it until you have the ChatGPT that will suit you. So for this example I'm just going to simply create a writer bot, something that I'm going to use for blogs and really writes the blogs in my exact way that I want them to come out every single time. So I'm going to start off fairly simple with I want a GPT that will write me blogs for my sites. Now obviously I know this is simple, but we're going to add to this and essentially build up the bot bit by bit. As usual, it's going to ask us whether we want to name it. I'm just going to call it the blog writer. Now normally I try and generate an image, I don't know why, but it hasn't this time. Might be a little bug. Either way, let's move on to now actually building up how we want this to work specifically for ourselves. Obviously it uses ChatGPT anyway, so it's got the AI technology, so it would write the blog just normally, just leaving it as it is. However, we want it to be specifically good for us because we don't want generated content that everybody else is going to get. So here I'm basically going to write in a bit of a prompt just to let it know a few bits that we want. So let's get started with the first part of the blog. So I'm going to start off first by just saying that I always want the first snippet to be SEO driven with the keywords, and it will always give a great example of the entire blog and include the main keywords. As you can see, every time I do this, it's going to update it a little bit more until we tweak it to perfection. Now it's asking us how I want it to communicate. Here I'm going to say that I actually want it to be specific to the type of site. So if it's a web hosting company, it needs to be differently suited to the audience. The same as if it's a massage therapist, it needs to adjust to the audience. Quite cleverly here it's asking us whether the bot should ask us for clarification if the blog topic or audience is unclear, which it definitely should. So I'm going to say at the start of the conversation you should ask who the target audience is. So essentially when we start using the blog writer, it's going to say, hi, who's this target audience for? Or who is your target audience? However, we're going to refine it further. Now, I'm not quite sure if we can incorporate the DALL-E, but I'm going to try incorporate DALL-E so it will create an image of what the title is underneath the structured snippet. Perfect, it looks like that's working. So what we're going to do now, and we will test it in a minute, but I now want to specify how I want the actual blog to come out. Next up I've asked for a clear explanation about the main subject of the blog topic with links to the part of the blog that answers each query. So an internal page link. The reason for this is that I don't want it to be answered in the first paragraph. I want it to be almost answered and then basically directed to the part of the blog post of which it is actually completely answered. The reason for that is that there are more link clicks and more time spent on the page, meaning that, better SEO. We're then going to want to ask for each section to answer the query well with bullet points and examples for references. And we're going to finish with a call to action conclusion depending on the site. So essentially what I want it to do is also ask me where the call to action should be for each blog post when it asks me who the target audience is. Now as it's updating, we're going to then move over to the right hand side where we're actually going to test it and see how it works because, they're not always perfect the first time and obviously we might have to make some adjustments. So we're going to get started with our preview with asking I would like a blog post about how businesses should use online directories to be found and for backlinks. Let's see how our GPT works so far. Perfect, so it's already asking us exactly what we need, which is what the target audience is, where the call to action should be, and it's actually also added another one which is specific online directories, because we might be talking about all of them or we might be talking about a specific one. So our target audience is going to be any UK business owner. The call to action is going to be to this particular blog that I have, and also I'm just letting them know that we're talking about this specific one, but they can also include other ones as general examples, such as Google My Business or Yellow Pages, Yelp, etc. So let's see how it does now. To be honest, I've got quite high hopes. One thing that I did notice there, that it was trying to create the image. I'm not sure if it's actually created the image though, so let's wait till the end. It might do, it might not do. In general, I like this. It's given us the good structured snippet. The first bit here, which it hasn't quite followed the direction, we wanted it to actually interlink to the sections. And also I'd actually quite like this to be just more paragraphs, so not everything's numbered or bullet pointed. It's given us good information there, good information over here, and a good conclusion, but it's not perfect, so really we want to now make this perfect. So the first part is that this here, so under the first heading, essentially what I want it to be is I want it to be more paragraphs, not lists or numbered or bullet points, and I also want it to include in brackets where it needs to link to underneath, because I realised that we're not going to be able to get that exact internal link in here. However, it would be good if it actually told us where to. So for instance, if we wanted to click on increased visibility, it needs to take us down, or at least tell us where to take us down to. Because really this is just about making our life easier. I'm also going to change up a little bit for the content as well, because I don't just want everything to be numbered. Now, it does sort of make sense, but then it's also not great on the eye when you're looking at an article and it's just one thing after another with numbers. Unfortunately, it just looks a bit too much like AI. We want it to be a bit more natural. So let's go ahead and try it out again. As we can see, it's actually started to ask us a few more questions now, such as the main post topic, target audience, call to action, specific keywords for SEO purposes, and also any additional instructions. Now I'm going to be a little bit lazy here and I'm just going to copy the first one because really I want to see what the outcome is now that we've changed it for the same thing. We are going to include a bit of SEO keywords though. Pretty much the same context as before, however I've actually just added in the keywords as well. This is starting to look a little bit better. We actually have the paragraph now. It's given us some nice examples of different places, and it's actually put a link for our particular one for the call to action. It then goes to give some tips for the people, because obviously that's why they might be searching for the blog post, so it does make sense. And then also best directories to list your business, because people will often search what is the best directory to list my business, putting us at the top and also adding a conclusion. Now as a blog post, I've got to say this is actually much better, and really it's taken us all of about 10 minutes to get it to this point. You can now carry on creating and making it a better GPT for you. Another cool thing that you can do once you've created your GPT is actually coming to the configure option, where you can change anything from its name, description, and more specifically the instructions that you've added. You can add different conversation starters, which is pretty interesting. I think they're these sort of bits right here. Upload files for the knowledge base, which I think is an awesome thing, and also you can add in different capabilities. As you can see, we have web browsing on this, so it can actually check out different internet pages. It's also got DALL-E generation. You can add stuff like code interpreter, data analysis, or different actions with schemas, which we're not going to go into at the moment. For example, I can put at the end, ask me what DALL-E images I would like to create, because I notice it's missing that particular part. Obviously when you finish, go ahead and click create, and you can actually choose it just to be me, anyone with a link, or put it on the GPT store. For now I'm going to put it as only as me until I build it up a little bit better. And here we have our own blog writer GPT.